Are you making enough influence in the community that you've built that if you were to close down, would your community even notice?
Ooh.
You know,
that's good.
That's the same thing for a church too. If your church doors were to close tomorrow, would the community even notice that your church is gone? If you're not getting in your community, building with inside of the community that you're actually a part of, I would say that things need to be shifted a little bit, because that's the very person you're trying to reach. I'm not trying to go viral on TikTok. You're trying to go viral in your community.
Yeah.
You know, and I
absolutely.
think a lot of times we spend too much time trying to do that instead of actually focusing and building on something that could actually last. Virality will fade, but community will last if it's sustained. Your product in your community, in your interest, if you're trying to grow something, you need to meet a need. I think what has happened is that, especially in the online space, when it comes to promoting and it comes to building, we've used our tools as a bulletin board rather than community building.
Welcome to the Faith Hustle Podcast. I am so excited for this conversation. Thank you for tuning in with us. Every single week, we bring on Christian entrepreneurs, leaders, people who are building movements and organizations that are building their businesses God's way. Today is no exception. This one is phenomenal. Want to shout out each of you who subscribe every single week. And we're excited of where God's taken us. And we're also excited about our community that continues to grow within the Faith Hustle Network. If you're a Christian entrepreneur looking for a community, look no further than the Faith Hustle Network. We have a link below with a little gift for you, a 7-day free trial for you to check out all that is happening inside of our network. But today, I have a special guest. He has become a friend. We had a mutual friend that introduced us, and just really fell in love with just his mission of what he's doing. It is so unique of the audience he is reaching, the community he is reaching within the gaming space. He literally has built the largest Christian gaming Discord community on the planet. And they are in multiple countries all around the world. And you're going to hear more of the testimonies and stories of what God is doing. But I want to welcome Mr. Dylan Walter.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. So grateful for you to be a part of this, man. And it's funny, like, I was in Austin for our Faith Hustle tour, and we had just missed each other,
Yep.
Somehow it just crossed. But next time I'm in Austin, we're gonna get some
Yes,
coffee
indeed.
or
Yeah.
What's like the go-to spot over there for like get-togethers?
Coffee. Well, coffee's Proud Mary, and then
Okay.
and then Proud Mary, Proud Marys, and then of course you have Terry Black's, but I know you guys have that over I think
We
where
do,
you're at.
but I know but it started in
Austin.
Austin.
But Austin
right?
hits different, man. I've been to both. Austin just hits different.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And listen, I love me some good barbecue, so I don't need any excuse to go and get me some. So absolutely, we can get some Terry Blacks. But man, again, thank you for being on, bro. I want to kind of hit it right off the jump. When I heard that you have this mission field of all these gamers, and I was like, to be honest, I'm not a gamer myself. I did 2K when I was younger. That was about it. Or Madden. That was kind of my vibe. I remember when Halo came out, but like I couldn't afford the Xbox, so I just like watched my friends play. But I was like so impressed and like, yeah, that is a mission field. But it's a mission field that like we don't think of. And obviously I want to get into how it all started. But man, I'd love to kind of get into one, like, how did God give you this burden for this community? And then we'll get into how like it grew. But I just want, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, like I was, I share this quite often. I mean, I was a youth pastor for 13 years too. So I've been in ministry. Yeah. So I've been in ministry since I was a long time. I graduated high school at 17. And so then I went right into youth pastoral internship. So I've been in ministry for a second. And just like even just digital stuff has always been good, fascinating to me. Like I've always been a gamer. I've always enjoyed doing like photography and video and all this kind of stuff. And so that's always been like a part of who I am. And I actually had a friend like last year kind of bringing to remembrance of something. I don't know if y'all remember what Periscope was.
Yes.
Periscope.
I remember Periscope.
Yeah, so long ago. It was owned by, It was owned by Twitter. And a friend reminded me, like, I used to like do Bible studies on Periscope, like, you know, because it's random, you know, people can just tune in like wherever. And I used to run Bible studies, and like I would have like 50, 60 people in there on Periscope. And I just kind of stopped doing it because, like, you know, I was focusing on other things, but I totally forgot about that. So anyway, the digital stuff has always been like, you know, has always been something that I've been interested in. Even when live streaming became a thing back in probably like 2011, we used to do like, you know, host our, you know, youth ministry online when I was an intern, and I would always be like, hey, can I help with the online stuff? Like, I want to reach these people, I want to talk to these people. So it's always been something that I've been interested in doing, but it was never really the main focus. I always kind of wanted to be a youth pastor. And then, you know, I moved to Louisiana to be a youth pastor for the third place I was youth pastoring at. And I was there for about 8 years or so. But during 2020, when COVID hit, you know, like I couldn't really do a whole lot. Louisiana was pretty locked down. We were able to do like, you know, Sunday morning services, like recorded and live and stuff like that, but we couldn't do it with people there. So I was like, I can't do too much with youth students. So I started like streaming Fortnite too, and just like to get them all connected. But then I also just doing it because like I had no friends, because I came from California all the way to Louisiana, and that was already a culture shock enough. And I just didn't have anybody. Like, I didn't really have a ton of friends. I had like my brother-in-law was a worship pastor, but it was still just like, you know, I wanted to bring a bit more friends. And I hear people all the time making friendships through gaming. And so I'm like, let's try this out. Let's stream. I got nothing else to do. And so I went with it, and, you know, I got affiliated, started building social media and stuff like that. And then I saw someone, you know, I had no intention of like doing anything with the gospel on gaming. I just wanted to make friends, like, not because I didn't want to, just it didn't occur to me to think it, to do it that way. And then I saw someone like, you know, I tuned into a stream and someone was like preaching the gospel on stream. I was like, that's it. So from that day forward, I said, in everything I do, I'm going to go ahead and try and spread the gospel through gaming. And during that last tail end of COVID, the first tail end, you know, first part of COVID and towards the tail end, I started really grinding hard with social media and streaming. And I just went for it. And we're here today. You know, all of a sudden now God shifted the direction from like literally to the point where I was like, I didn't want to continue like the pastoral route. I wanted to go to the evangelism kind of digital space route and see what we could do. You know, first year we saw 75 people come to Jesus through playing Warzone Customs. Like crazy, you know, like it was insane, dude. Like, yeah. And that was the beginning. That was just like the tip of what we were doing. And, just insane, dude. Playing Warzone, filling up custom lobbies, just doing the grind, dude. I mean, I grew to like 100 and some thousand followers on TikTok in like 7 months. And then I did a lot of parody content. It was mainly like just gimmicky kind of silly stuff that I would do, you know, parody or satire, stuff like that. Super fun. And like I would include like, you know, Bible stuff as well, but I was doing it from a very evangelistic standpoint. But that's kind of what got me started, was really just like I saw someone do it and it clicked. And I was like, this is cool. I'm going to take what I love and I'm going to try and reach people. And I never expected, you know, when I first started doing it, was more so, let's be a full-time content creator and let's do the content creation. Let's still incorporate the Lord and still reach people for Jesus. But the content and what I did was more focused on just being a content creator, gaming, stuff like that. And since everything's happened, it's evolved into not just trying to be a content creator, but trying to like do ministry in a space that needs it. Trying to do full-time digital missions, like really reaching people for Christ in a space that literally I can sit in this room and reach people all over the world.
If you're a Christian entrepreneur, you know that managing your books can be tiresome. It can take a lot of unnecessary time away from actually building the business. But my friends over at Branch Bookkeeping are here to help. Branch Bookkeeping is one of the incredible sponsors of this channel. Whether it's bookkeeping, payroll, or fractional CFO services, they help you run the numbers so that you can focus on your calling. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit their website to start your journey towards financial clarity. I remember when we had our first Zoom and I was just like you were telling me these testimonies, I was like dumbfounded of what God is doing. And again, honestly, truly, it's not a space that I would even think. I've done missions before. I've been to almost 20 countries doing missions my whole life. I never even saw that as a mission field. And it's funny, we talked about it before we started here. when the Great Commission is to go in all the world, preach the gospel, make disciples of all nations. That word nations is actually not translated to countries.
Right.
It's translated to ethnos, so people groups. So like groups of people. And guess what? There's groups of people who play Fortnite or who play Warzone.
A lot of people,
And like you said, I mean, a lot of them I know, like they are looking for community. They are looking for, and I mean, I've had friends that, or people I know that they moved states because they made friends with someone that they were gaming with, and they literally moved whole states just to be closer to them. Like it's a real community. It's real people. And I think, and honestly, I think probably just part of ignorance. I've been a part of services like where the pastor will go up and will just kind of bash gamers or just and I always was like, there's parts of you is like you just kind of get riled up, but it's like, but when you talk to them, it's like, hold up, like in the same way that someone's a gym junkie and they'll be at a gym for 3 hours. It's the same thing. It's just community on another level. Now, some people are unhealthy with it. Absolutely. Like, I knew people that they were spending more time gaming than they were spending with their kids. Obviously,
100%.
That's not healthy.
That's for everything. That's everything.
For everything. That's
like,
for everything.
If I had a golf hobby or like wanted to go fishing, but I never spend time with my family, it's equally as bad. Binge watching Netflix for 6 hours at a time, but I'm over here playing games and having community. I would venture to say that spending 6 hours on the game, having community with people and actually like talking to people and encouraging each other than sitting on Netflix for 6 hours and wasting your time away. But people don't want to talk about that.
They don't want to talk about it. Especially golf, because golf it's long. And you are.
Have you played 18 holes?
Honestly,
Have you played 18 holes?
I've never finished 18 holes because it's too long.
It's too long. It takes forever. I don't want to do it, bro.
No, it's way too long. And I do want to get, like, I have clubs in the back here, that are collecting dust. But anyways, I'm saying that because I feel like we've had a painted picture of this community. But the reality is, and this is why this is a podcast for entrepreneurs, for leaders. The beautiful thing, why I love entrepreneurs, God gives us, we get to share his burden. And it's always connected to people. It's always connected to a need. And it's like, I look at it almost like the Good Samaritan story. The same person could pass by, people can pass by the same person, but it takes one person whose eyes are just kind of locked in on them of like, man, God allowed you to see community that other people pass by. And my dad always used to tell me, if God allows you to see something, he holds you responsible. And I just love that you're like, hey, you just saw, hey, these are people and they need the gospel. And guess what? I'm
without a doubt.
And so I'm so inspired by it. So, man, tell me a bit about this growth that happened, because you went from, again, just playing to realizing, hey, I'm going to go all in. You guys are now at, what, over 10,000 members?
Well, over 11,000 now.
Oh, my goodness. And we talked not too long ago, so it's already grown. Over 11,000 members in this Discord community. I think you had mentioned, I saw you post something, you've seen over 300 salvations or something like that crazy.
Yep.
And how much of a span?
That would probably be since September.
Jeez. Like there are churches that won't see that in a year.
No.
I mean, let alone in a few months span. It's just, I'd love to just hear the miracle story of how that came to be. Just that whole story.
Yeah. I mean, we, I've always been doing this. It's been something that I've done on and off. And then I was working a corporate job for a bit, but I was still doing streams and I was still doing stuff like that. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to keep doing this, keep doing Bible studies, do Bible study every Monday night. That hasn't changed since like I started streaming. And we just kept going. Like, I was working corporate, doing this just kind of more for fun, not necessarily like, let's do this as a mission. It was more so like, hey, if gamers come, I'm going to share Christ with them. We're going to share, Christ values. We're going to do all that. And I just kept going, and then May came, and I just felt like the Lord, May of 2025 came, and I just felt like the Lord really pushed me to bring his people together. And I was very I was very not wanting to do that, not in a bad way. More so, I wanted to be the evangelistic focus. I didn't want to be the Christian creator. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Not again, this is not me being like, I'm not denying Christ. No, that's not what it is.
I get it. I
didn't want to be an echo chamber. I didn't want to be another echo chamber of like, we slap Jesus on it and we say, yay, he's going to bless it. It's like, that's not how it works. And so I was very against it for a second, to a point where I couldn't sleep. And I was like, okay, God, I guess I'm going to make this video. I made literally the most basic video in the entire world. Text overlay, music background, me drinking a cup of coffee, and that was it. And I threw it up there and I said, all right, if you want to be a Christian gamer, if you're a Christian gamer and you're having a hard time finding fellowship, let's come join the community, come be a part. I was expecting like 50 people to join, and I had 1,500 people join in 24 hours. And I was like,
1,500 people join your community in 24 hours.
In 24 hours. I said, I did not expect that to happen. I think that initial video right now has like 500 and almost 600,000 views. I didn't expect it. And I posted it on both platforms, both Instagram and TikTok, and it just blew up. And I was like, this is the most confusing thing in the entire world. I was not expecting this. I was not planning for this. And then it turns into And then it just keeps going. And I'm like, okay, keep doing Bible studies. I keep getting people to be mods. I keep, applying different things to what we're doing. And then it grows. People are like, man, we really cool to have Bible studies. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure that out. And like now we have I think 20 Bible studies bi-weekly and weekly happening like in the server. And then people are like, man, it'd be really cool to do some really some games together and really into, getting communities together for each game. And so now we have something called game leader. They're called game leaders. And basically they're in charge of all the major games that are represented in the community. And they're in charge of cultivating and building that community and creating community nights, tournaments, stuff like that can help build the community there and also help outreach people as well, bring people in. And so that transformed. And then all of a sudden, people are like, man, I was like, man, I need to have someone that welcomes all these new people, because I don't have the time to do it. We created a welcome team. We had a lot of people asking some really deep faith-based questions. And we had, some people that were a little new to their faith were answering them a little off. And we're like, we want to make sure that we want people to go to their pastor, we want people to go to the church as well and just ask these faith-based questions too. But we want to provide an opportunity for people to ask these questions if they don't have anyone else to talk to. So we created a whole faith team that basically are vetted and they have deep theological knowledge. Very just either they have a degree or they're very well versed in the word, and they answer questions like, hey, why did God do this here and he didn't do this here? Or why did this happen and this happen? What's the difference between how can I witness to people who are a different faith? Really gave that in. And then when people get saved too, we bring them into the Discord and we set them up with either getting them connected to the church, a Bible, or just community and how to really live out, what it means to be a believer. And so we created that. And then now where I'm like, wow, this is insane. This has grown into something that I can't comprehend. I'm working full time and then doing this full time, after hours of work. And so it's just it was a lot. It was a ton. And, I'm just going to share this because it's a big part of what I do, of what I've done, and then it got to a time where I got emailed by my old job, and they said they decided to part ways with me because what I was doing was direct competitor to what they're doing. So for reference, it was a social media platform for Christians, and I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm bringing people over to the platform. Actually, I've been giving people accounts, getting them over. I even told you, if we can do it on here, we can do it on Discord, we can do it here. And they said that it was non-compete and they didn't want to compete with me. And so they let me go. And I was like, what is going on, God? I'm being obedient. And then this happens. What the heck is happening right now? And then I go on and I'm like, Lord, I don't get it. This is tough. It was a well-paying job. I got to take care of my family. I have 4 kids. What do you want me to do here? And, luckily we did get some help and some benefits and some stuff like that and severance and everything like that. But still, it was still God, okay, what do we do here? I don't have enough to there's a certain point, I've been applying for jobs. I don't know what's going on. I applied for 100 jobs. I'm still not getting anything. What is happening, Lord? And then legitimately, as we keep going, the community keeps growing. Influence starts growing. provision starts coming in, support keeps coming in. And like now we're at the point where it's like, yeah, it's a little tight, but now we're at the point where it's like we have enough support to the point where we can cover basically most of our stuff, and just being able to continue to do ministry and reach people for Jesus. And that's just been the crazy point of how we're at today. You know, like we've grown to 11.7K people are in the community now. We have like 5,000, weekly active users who are in the community. Like we're running tournaments. We're running weekly active. Yeah, our community is buzzing. I think like we have per month inside of just our community chat, like because that's our main chat room for like our main channel for people to chat in. I think we have like over like 60,000 messages or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But that doesn't include like people spamming gifs and emotes, but still, like it's a lot.
Oh my gosh!
But it's pretty crazy, and so yeah, it's just been growing like crazy, and the Lord's just been opening opportunities. Like there's people who, opportunities to help other faith-based like missional like programs too. We have another ministry in Japan, in Okinawa, Japan, that's trying to reach people online too. We're trying to work with them too. It's opening up all these crazy opportunities to be able to keep spreading the gospel through gaming. Like we have 6 continents represented in our community, and it's crazy. All but Antarctica. The penguins aren't there. Yeah, right. I know. I gotta up my game, bro. I gotta get those penguins in here.
You're really slacking, man. We really need the we need the scientists on there to
Right. We need them to be logging in, man. But like it's just been crazy, like people are giving testimony. Like I had just someone come into my stream yesterday from Sweden. They found my Instagram from Sweden, and they're like, I literally was praying for God to answer prayer and to bring me community, and then I saw your video. That's probably 1 out of like 300 people that have said that. Wow. So like you hear that over and over again, once or twice, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, they found my video. But now you're like, okay, like, obviously the Lord's trying to do something here, right? Yeah. And so, anyway, that's just kind of where we're at the moment, man. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to reach more people for Jesus. We're developing a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, we can keep talking more about that. But that's just kind of where how the growth happened, and we're just not stopping.
Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so much more I want to get into, and even how you're stewarding it. Like I low key, even for myself, we talked offline and actually I'll share some stuff with you in a little bit of, I don't know when this is going to come out. We may be able to make the announcement about it, but we're stepping into some similar things that I'm really excited about. That I was really inspired by you. But I just have to say, one, I'm so encouraged. I just love when I meet leaders that are on mission, that are like, hey, we're let's build, like let's and obviously it's the Lord's doing, but like you've found a lane, and I think there's even when you're talking about those 300 people saying all the same thing of like I was praying for something like this.
Yeah.
I think it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think it's it's usually the survival thing: food, shelter, clothing, all this different stuff.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe there's like a addendum to that of like they either added one or something like that, and they actually put with all those basic human needs, belonging.
Yep.
It's almost like near the top, if it's not the top. I could be wrong, but I want to say that they adjusted it. That like just as much as we need food and water and clothing and shelter, we need belonging, which to be fair, sounds about right, because God said it's not good for man to be alone.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's kind of like God knew what he was doing. Of like, hey, you can't do it by and it's funny, like, with Faith Hustle, I thought honestly we would be more in the educational space, and we would just be like podcasts, and then we would do courses and information. And I thought maybe that's what we were building, like more of a course business. Mm-hmm. But then it became very apparent. Well, one, honestly, it became out of obedience. God said, do an event. And I was like, all right, cool. I'd never done one. We did 9 last year, and we're set to do twice as much this year.
Come on,
but I'm
love
like,
it.
God, we did an event. And I realized we are information loaded, but we are community deficient. And I think in this information age that we're in, of like, especially with AI and all this different stuff, nothing replaces an actual human being and a connection point, even if it's virtual. We have an online community ourselves. It's my favorite thing I get to do every single week. Our Tuesday Bible studies, our Friday calls, even in a virtual experience. There is something of this, like, Acts talked about, like, we had all these things in common. Acts 2, right? It's that koinonia, like this. We are coming together under the banner of Jesus. Like, that's why Paul talked about, don't forsake the gathering of the saints. Now, obviously, they're talking about an in-person experience, but I'm like, listen, there's God has no limit. I think don't forsake the gathering, even in a space like, and obviously, I'm an advocate for the local church. You're in a local church. I'm in a local church. But this is a gathering. 2 or 3 are gathered. He is there.
It's massive.
Like, you've basically built a gaming church.
Yeah,
and
basically.
I mean, you told me, like, you got a welcome team, you got a prayer team, you got.
I was a pastor for 13 years. Like, I gotta like, it's like that's how I know how to set up leadership.
But I love it. Like every new believer, you told me they get a Bible. You're connecting them with local churches if they don't have local churches, and I'm like,
right.
It's obviously very evangelistic, but I just want to point that out, because I think it's, even within the businesses, as people are listening to this, find ways where you can build community within that. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, of what you would suggest people who want to start communities, because I think it actually is very essential.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, community is so important. I mean, like, people will think, well, I'm just like, maybe I just run this kind of business, or I just do this kind of thing, and it's really hard to build community. But I can guarantee you build community around a shared interest or a shared desire on any level, on any sort of level. Your community, if you build a strong community, people are going to recommend you. People are going to recommend your product. People are going to recommend your community. They're going to recommend your services. They're going to connect with you better. Word of mouth is going to spread. Like, building that strong community base, even if it's like 10, 15 people that are just like, man, these are our people, like, utilizing them. Like, hey, like, we noticed that you utilize our product a lot. Like, hey, can we send you something that's new? And do you mind telling people about it? Like, you're building that platform, especially if you're not a super, I guess, like, established, wherever you're a household name yet, right? Where someone like, man, everyone knows, like, you're going to that person, but you start to build that community, get in people's lives. And it just changes things, like I would say that I'm a content creator, but I would say that I'm a community builder first, but because of the community built, it has also affected how well my content does, because my community, because the community becomes the content as well. And so it just builds it, and it helps you build, and I always think this is that if it's a God vision, and if it's a God plan and God direction, it's always going to take more than just yourself to build something. Like, I have 200 people 200 leaders in the community that help me build what we're doing. And then I have like 12 head leaders that help me run things. I can't do it by myself, and people have bought into the vision of what we're doing, and we're moving. So it's hugely important. Without the community, without the people in place, I'd have no systems. I'd have nothing like that. I'd have no honestly influence or reach, because I would have to focus all on one thing, and I wouldn't be able to build out, right? Community helps you continue to build, and helps you continue to build upon what you're already, what you're trying to do, and even sustain what you're trying to do. Community is massive. So. Oh my
goodness. Yeah. And I mean, even some of the biggest brands, like, I think of some local one. Well, actually in Austin, like BPN Supplements is one of my favorite examples of a brand that built themselves around a community. Like, they do runs together. They sponsor races. They've created this whole community around. We're intense athletes. We're runners. We're people who care about this, and they found a community. Their product could have been for lifters or whatever like that, but they found a community within runners and a hybrid
and they capitalized on it. Yeah, they capitalize on it. Like, my thought too is, like, are you making enough influence in the community that you've built that if you were to close down, would your community even notice?
Ooh.
You know,
Oh, that's good.
That's the same thing for a church too. If your church doors were to close tomorrow, would the community even notice that your church is gone? You know, it's the same thing. Like, you have to you get involved with your community, especially if you're a local business who is like in a community, or a local service that's within a community or something like that, right? Because I know, like, we're talking not just the people who do things digitally, but people who also do things in person. If you're not getting into your community, building with inside of the community that you're actually a part of, I would say that things need to be shifted a little bit, because that's the very person you're trying to reach. We're not trying to go viral on TikTok. You're trying to go viral in your community.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot
absolutely.
of times we spend too much time trying to do that instead of actually focusing and building on something that could actually last. Virality will fade, but community will last if it's sustained.
Friend, really quick, before we keep going, if you're enjoying the conversation we're having in this episode, you're going to love what we have inside the Faith Hustle Network. What's the Faith Hustle Network? I'm glad you asked. It's more than a podcast. It is a growing community of faith-driven entrepreneurs looking to do business God's way. We do weekly Bible studies, Friday strategy calls, and network with each other in our chats. You even get access to the people that you see on this show to ask your questions in real time and hear their wisdom and strategy that could help your business. Whether you're just getting started or you're scaling something big, this is where faith and business meet. If that describes you, tap the link in the description and get in the room today. Now enjoy the rest of the episode. Okay, let's say there's somebody here, maybe they have a product, maybe they're in e-com, especially something where it's not in person,
Right.
where they might not have like a retail establishment, but they want to build community. Or honestly,
Right.
and we'll get into this, but like maybe someone feels like calling, like maybe it's sports cards or anime or whatever. Like they're like, hey, I got this unique interest and I want to build community. It might not even be for a business reason. It could be for a ministry. What's your, obviously a lot of this has been a miracle of how it's happened, but what's your practical wisdom of like, here's a one-on-one in building community, doing it right. Here's things you need to think of before you start. If you had to give a masterclass on building a digital community, what would that be?
You know, a lot of it, like you said, a lot of this has been just like the Lord, like, here you go. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of this has been me learning as I go. Like, I didn't go into this being like, I'm a master at building community. I'm a master at this. No, I was literally just like, God was like, here you go. And I'm like, okay, I didn't ask for this, but I'm going to run with it.
Yeah, I love it.
And, I think the biggest thing was, I met a need is what I did. Right. And so your product and your community and your interest, if you're trying to grow something, you need to meet a need. You can't just be another person that just posts like, buy my product. Like, cool, I can go buy something else. Like, why do I need to buy your product? I think what has happened is that, especially in the online space, when it comes to promoting and it comes to building, we've used our tools as a bulletin board rather than community building. You get that all the time. Like, people will throw up just like, join me here. It's like, why should I join you? I don't even know who you are. You don't post any other content besides join your stream or join your community. Like, why do I need to join you? Who are you? You're trying to build a reputation with these people too. Like, you're from what you do on socials, what are you doing with your community? How are you building your community? How are you making your community the focus, right? There's a lot of things that you have to do. And I would say, if you're in this thing, and I'm going to speak kind of more to my specialty side first, of more so like the nerd space, like the digital, anime, whether it be Pokemon cards or something like that. You're being, what I did was like, I was like, hey, if you're a Christian gamer, or we run D&D too. A lot of people don't know this. We have a whole massive D&D community too that has been so ostracized by the church, because church is like, D&D's the devil. Like, there are some dark things in D&D, but you don't have to play them. Like, that's kind of like, we don't stop watching movies because one R-rated movie or something like that was just so bad that, we can do. There's things that you don't partake in. Like, and we actually run like some faith-based D&D campaigns, which is super cool. Awesome. We met a need and we built upon that need. So if you're someone who uses Pokemon cards and you're like, dude, I want to create a community for people who are believers, and we want to reach people in the Pokemon card collecting space because we know it's big. We know there's a bunch of believers who probably don't have a lot of people to connect to at their church. So we're going to try and connect them here digitally and hopefully that we can go spread it online, right? Same thing with e-commerce. What need are you filling? Like, you always got to target the need, target the community who's need. Don't try to go viral and be like, let me make this sweet video about my product. No one cares. They don't. Like, no one cares about how awesome your product is. No one cares. They care about the community you're building and the need that you're fulfilling. And that's just when I say, like, we fulfilled the need. We said, you're a Christian gamer. You need space. You need community space. We're going to provide that for you. You're an e-commerce person. You're someone who's wanting to build digital community. Here's a space. This is the need that needs to be filled. I've seen it. I've heard about it. We're going to make it happen. We're going to build community around this. And then watch this. Your community starts building your community. And therefore, when your community starts building your community, you can keep building and building and start doing new things as well. I know that I'm able to do what I do today because I have a strong community and I have strong support, being able to continue to expand. If it was just me focusing on it by myself, I would not be able to expand and do the things I do. But building strong community is going to help you build the product or build the space that you want to lock into.
That is brilliant. Brilliant. I was sitting here, I was like, just cheesing, just, because what you said, I think is very, especially within the live streaming space, I do tend to see that a lot of kind of like this, just join me here. It's like, well, why are they joining? Like,
right.
For Faith Hustle, it's like, we have a message that people are surrounding. So it's like
right.
and part of it is also like it's the need that we're solving, but there's also here's a common threat and something that we can all agree on. Of like, hey, we want to build business God's way, not the world's way. That's really what we're building around. And it's like, hey, if you want to be with other like-minded people who think the same way, this community exists for you. Right. And so, like you said, like what story are you inviting them into? Again, I don't know. We keep going back to BPM, but BPM's example, like they have a whole saying, "Go one more." It's like, or Nike, just do it. It's like, what are we coming around?
Exactly. There's this building. Yeah. Mm. No, sorry. I was like, my brain's like, let's like, no, I was now that my brain's kind of like, I'm firing up a little bit here. Like, it's just like, when people join, they see that, they see like we're a Christian community, gaming community. They join the premise like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm a Christian, I game, let's hop in. Now, the important part is when they hop in, what are they going to walk into? Is it just like another, like, we love Jesus, so we slap Jesus on it and it's a Christian community? Yay. No, when they walk in, they're greeted by people. They get hyped. They get plugged in. We have games that they can pick to play. They get plugged into a gaming community. Our game leaders welcome them in. They're here, and then there's Bible studies happening. There's encouraging, like, even when it's not a Bible study, when people are in VCs and voice channels, like they're talking about the word and they're talking about faith and they're being encouraged. Like, we have testimonies daily. People put in the Discord. So glad I found this community. It's nothing like I ever expected in my entire life. Like, I didn't expect to hop into a Christian gaming community, and this is it. So it's like I grabbed them by the initial like hook of Christian gaming community, but what they walk into and when they saw is what caused them to stay. Right. So I think too many times we spend too much time fluffing up the outside and trying to get people in that we forget to focus on what does the inside systems look like and what does the inside of the community and of the product look like.
That's so good. That's so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think realizing, because I think some of it, we want the end result so much. So like the end result for a business owner is like, hey, I want to sell my product, I want to sell my service. But realizing like even, I think of like car companies of like, I used to live in Michigan and like, it seemed like everybody drove a Jeep. And everyone that drove a Jeep, they were Jeep people. Like you could just they did this sign to each other. It was like this it was like this thing, and
the
it
rubber
was like
ducks too.
Yeah, the rubber ducks, and like they all had the same signals, the same. And it's like, who's teaching them this language? Who, like, did they have like a class they go to?
Right.
It's a culture that's created within it, But
Yep.
like Jeep helped foster that, right? Tesla, same
Yep.
thing. Like every Tesla person I know, they're like an engineer at heart. They're like engineering
Right,
their whole
right.
life. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they were on AI before AI. Everybody else was on
the
AI.
thing.
Like
Exactly.
you know, they think the same thing. I mean, Apple, what they call it, early adopters, right? Of people
Right.
who get on. But that's the community that you're building. But I think it's hard for us to think of the value of that when for us we're looking at either our bottom line or like, hey,
Right.
but truly that community, if you cultivate it right, they'll push your brand forward, they'll push the message forward, and obviously for you, the product is the gospel. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
You know, and so I mean, you've just done a fantastic job with that.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, it's been a ride. We've loved every step of it.
I love it. Okay, I as we come to a close here, there's so many other questions I want to ask of like, you know, how you've been able to steward it, like even just the structures you've built to sustain it.
Yeah.
I'd love to go into that. Like, what structures
Yeah.
are you putting in place to sustain all this?
It's a lot. And luckily I have a lot of people who are very type A in my community that are leaders because I am not. I am visionary. So
I am too.
I am very, very grateful for every single person who's helped me build what we're doing. And it's definitely something I can do on my own. You know, like we have, you know, when people join, as far as structure, as far as leadership goes and stuff like that, you know, we have different teams. Like I said, you know, we have faith, we have moderators, we have tech team that does all the back end work and implements channels and categories and permissions and bots that works on all that stuff. We have small groups even. We have just a bunch of stuff. And so what happens is we have each of those teams have roles and responsibilities. Like we've laid that out. Like here's what you do as a game leader. Here's what you do as a moderator. Here's what's expected when you join. Here's all these different things of how to serve in this ministry. This is what you do. And we have actually processes and procedures for everything. Like how we ban people. If we have to ban people, what does that take to ban someone? Where's grace? Where's the line of grace? And where's the line of just being a detriment to the community? All those different things. Like we've had to put these things in place, like these processes. We have a community manager that runs everything for community. What's the health of the community look like? How are things flowing? Is everything that we're doing line up with the mission of the community? We have a head of ops. They make sure that all the heads are doing their jobs. Like it's a lot that we put into this, like a lot of structure where, you know, because leading 200 leaders on top of like everything requires that. And so like everything we've basically have structured everything, in my opinion, and I've worked at a lot of churches, we have some pretty intense structure where it's as if we are a church of 11,000 people.
You are.
And so we've implemented all this stuff. Like we're not just kind of, you know, we're no longer just a gaming community, right? We are a Christian community. We're a bunch of believers using gaming to reach people for Jesus and to build community. And so we've had to implement all those systems. What does it look like when someone onboards? Who's able to do what? Who has what permissions? Who goes through who? You know, who's at the top? Who's the person that we need to report to? All these different things. And we've really tried to make it so that way people don't live on Discord 24/7 because people have lives. People have churches that they go to. But we've also made it so that way if they go to a smaller church, because we have some people that go to churches of like 30 to 60 people. And there's not a lot of ways to get involved or be the hands and feet of Christ outside of that church building sometimes, or inside of that church. I would say more so inside of the church building, right? There's no ways to volunteer or anything. And so they take that volunteer time and they're like, let's play some games. And like, while I continue to go to local church and serve that any way that I can, I'm going to come here and like also like be a game leader. Or I'm going to lead a Bible study, or I'm going to lead a small group. And so we've structured it to where I'm not trying to take the place of the local church. I'm trying to help the local church. And we've actually seen people like, you know, we structured it so well in how we do certain things. Like we've seen people be like, we're going back to church again for the first time in forever. Like I've even told people like, hey, we can be your source of spiritual growth if you need to with Bible studies and stuff like that we're doing, but we encourage you to get plugged into a local church. And people are doing this, and it's all from the structure that we have. We structure it very well to the point of, you know, people are also like, I make everyone take Sundays off. Like there's no doing any sort of work for your area on Sunday. Like you can't do it. Like we don't do events on Sundays. We don't do anything on Sundays. I tell people too, it's like, if you need to take a break for like a month, like take a break for a month. I'm not stressed about it. Like I'm not trying to keep everybody here, you know? No, there's some people that, you know, need to take a break. It'd be a little more like, oh man, dang, that's going to be tough. But God's the one who sustains it, And so I care more about people's walk with the Lord and their personal life more than I do them serving and helping in our Discord community. And because of that, we've grown such a strong leadership team and a healthy team too, in my opinion. We've seen, people, we've had some people need to step back just because some people go all the way. There's, some people who are super zealous. They're like, let's take on the world. And I'm like, let's step back a little bit. I see this. Let's go ahead and step back a little bit and let's make sure that you're taken care of, right? And so, that's kind of how we run things, man. We're very, very pro, first family first, and God first, and family and all this stuff, and then like ministry comes last. Like this area comes last for in your guys' life. I don't want this to be like the 24/7 thing. Some people do put it pretty high up, just depending where they're at in life, but I don't want people to to have to feel like that they have to be on the server 24/7, and so we're really advocate for that. But some people are on it a lot because it's where they've built community and family. They finally have friends, and so it's like, no matter what part of life you're in, you're able to join and get involved in the community as much as possible.
I love that, man. I love that. And it's funny, I was laughing when you said the super zealous person at first, because any church I've been a part of, it's the same story. So when you newly get saved or you're newly joined, they're like, I'm joining every team. I'm serving every team. I can't do this, Exactly. Like, I'm involved in every small group. I'm in this and that. And then, like, as a leader, you're like, all right, we'll start our watch, and then,
Right.
And so, but it's normal. My dad, we always talk about this. When he saw just some of the growth of Faith Hustle, he encouraged me with the scripture. Because to be honest with you, because of my church experience and background, I was always in the beginning, like the first event I didn't even have volunteers. The reason why I didn't have a thought to have volunteers. The only reason why I had even a few volunteers, because people were like, you need help. And I was like,
right.
No, I'll be fine. And like, I had this thing of like, I don't want to burden people. I don't want to put, and I was projecting my experience. But the Bible talks about in Psalms, in the day of thy power, people will freely volunteer. And I think it's good for us to know, well, one, as leaders, like, people naturally want to be a part of what God's doing. It's beautiful. Right. They want to follow the cloud. Obviously, we want to be self-aware leaders enough to be like, hey, let's not put stuff on people and leaders that they don't need. You know what I mean? Let's be cautious of people's desire to be a part of what's going on. And when's the last time you took a break? When's the last time you just had whatever? And so that's on us to be healthy leaders. But it's okay. Let them be a part. Give them ownership. It's something that we're doing here at Faith Hustle. It's like, hey, there's enough people. They have the DNA what we're doing. Give them some structure and let them run. And
and they can be involved as much as they want. I literally am like, you guys go involved as much as you want or as little as you want. Like, that here's the expectation. This is what we need for this. If you can't fulfill it, that's cool. Like, I'm not stressed. Like, you don't have to feel like you gotta, my value's found in being in the community. So no, you just simply be a community member and have fun. Like, that's what I want for you, And so, it's definitely like, we want people to be healthy Christians and healthy people mentally, spiritually, in all senses of the term, And so, 100%, dude. I agree with you.
I love that. Okay. Last question for you. This has been so good, man.
It's been awesome.
I think the church is sleeping on a whole, again, mission field. And in the same instance that I feel like, the burden that I felt for Faith Hustle is that I felt that there was a demographic in the community, in the church world, that was not being served, which was young, newer entrepreneurs. The seasoned business owners and leaders that already made it, were making money and were doing well, and obviously they would be like the biggest givers and tithers. Yeah, they get attention. Right. But those who are just getting started, there wasn't really anything for them. They kind of felt like the black sheep of and then anyways, I can go on and on and that. That's the burden I felt for that community. I don't even hear conversations around this in the church. What would you love to see? Like, if you're imagining the future for the church moving forward, especially within the gaming space, within the virtual space, and live streaming, and all this different stuff.
Right.
How do you see us as a church engaging in this space better? Like if you had to paint a picture of the future for me. Yeah.
I got a mural to paint, bro. So it's a lot. I think churches need to get away from the stigma, social media bad, gaming bad. Can't, it's digital. Like you're that, oh man, if you're on social media, like it's affects people's lives, and gaming people are, is the stereotype that someone's a gamer, they're an addict in their mom's basement, basically. Like literally, like that's how people see it. But that's not the 100%. Case. Like everyone's a gamer. Like, dude, when I was doing, I've been growing on Instagram like crazy. I mean, I have NFL players following me. Like these are people who are NFL players who are established in their craft, professionals playing Fortnite. It's like, everyone's a gamer. Here's the thing though, everyone's a gamer. Like it's not, get rid of the stereotype. Everyone's a gamer. Doctors, lawyers, people that work at coffee shops, people that are entrepreneurs. Everyone's a gamer. There's 3.1 billion gamers in the entire world. Like really? 3.1 billion gamers. This also includes mobile gamers. But still, 3.1 billion. That's like half the world's population. Game. And yet, we don't do anything about it. Why? Because it's been a stigma that it's bad and it's all this. But guess what? Your church congregation is online more than they are inside of your pews.
That's a fact, especially after COVID.
So why aren't we utilizing any sort of media to build digital community with inside of a physical body that is your church or that is a platform, building that community? But besides the point, if your people are online watching stuff and watching videos and getting content nowadays can be very crazy, right? I think they said that I'm just gonna say it too. I mean, OnlyFans content is like $1 billion industry right now, but yet the church keeps complaining, but the church doesn't do anything about it. We don't invest. Like, let's invest into someone. There's a creator inside your church. Invest into what they're doing for the kingdom. Instead, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to Africa or Central America or going to Asia on a mission trip or anything like that. But what I am saying, I think that we need to also put effort into building the digital space and supporting people who are online, winning people to Jesus as well. There needs to be a shift of how we view digital stuff and how we view digital content, supporting people who are creating great content that's inspiring the next generation, that's inspiring the next group of Christians who are online 24/7, right? Gen Z and Gen Alpha are the most online than any other generation. So why not try to support something or pour into something that's going to help them grow in their faith but also cultivating the interest that they have. And I think this also goes to any creator, supporting creators within inside of your church. I can guarantee you any big church in any sort of metropolitan area, Dallas, Austin, San Francisco, New York City, some places in Florida, wherever it is, Oklahoma City, wherever you are, there is probably guaranteed there is some shape or form of a content creator in your church that is trying to win people to Jesus or utilizing their craft. And I think that supporting people in that kind of way, in that kind of manner, is going to help the efforts of reaching people for Jesus all over the world. I haven't had to leave this space, and I've reached people on 6 continents through what we do. And that's crazy. Like that, and that's low cost. Like running what I do in here, I mean, my electric bill's, $175 a month or something like that. Like for my like that's basically what I pay. And internet too, like it's not expensive, but it does take support, it does take work, and it does take initiative from the person who is doing it. But when you get support from the local church, when you're doing something for Jesus and you hear the church being like, hey, like, look what this, we're supporting these people who are reaching people for Jesus, instead of being like, anytime I go across a reel, sometimes it's like, we're growing a bunch of lazy men who don't, who rather play video games and do this. And I'm like, I got a great family and my family's following Jesus. I do video games for a living, basically. I run a gaming community, like things are good. Like things are running well, and I think that stigma has to change. Like we got to change that stigma. We got to see that the Lord can work in a lot of spaces. And I would say this, I think of like some bigger churches, I'm a part of a bigger church too. And I think some people worry like, they gotta remember to gather the saints. Right? We talked about the gathering of the brethren, right? The gathering of brethren was anywhere the church gathered, right? And the church is us. And I was saying, again, big advocate for local church. I'm not saying like we don't go to church,
yes,
please.
Of course.
Local church. But I'm saying too, it's like, why not, use someone who's in the digital space at your church? Like that helps you, because you're not going to be able to pastor. Yeah, we're a pastor of 5,000 people, but individually, there's no way that you can pour into every single person on that kind of level as a shepherd. I'm not saying that your voice, you're not shepherding by preaching. I'm not saying that, but utilizing the gifts that are inside of your church for people who are content creators, where your church is online 24/7. Utilize your content creators to create. Here's how to be a basic Christian. Here's how to follow. Here's a Sermon on the Mount on how to follow Jesus. Follow us on YouTube. Here, let's grow. Let's utilize your content creators to grow these platforms, not for outreach purposes, but to equip the saints inside of your church to grow because you're online. That was a lot of stuff, but that's where I'm going to end it because I can keep going.
No, that was good. I can tell. It's like we all have a soapbox, and it's like you get me on it, and I won't get off.
Trust.
Man, one, thank you for sharing that. My brain goes to a few different places. Number one, there's this quote that says, wherever the church avoids, the enemy invades.
Yep.
And basically, we did that with music. We did that with movies in Hollywood. And we've done that with gaming. And then we complain, and then we make content like what you're, and I know exactly who you're talking about too. Saying, "Oh man, we're raising a bunch of weak men or this or that," and it's like, well, what are we doing about it? Like yelling's not doing anything clearly.
Man, I am inspired not to be a weak man anymore. Let's go.
Exactly.
Thank you for yelling at me.
Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that meant to me. But it's like, or you could do what my friend Chad Gunderson did. Him and Dallas Jenkins. They started The Chosen. They're like, all right, we're not going to complain. We're going to just make stuff that's good, that the world wants to see. And now they've had almost 1 billion views on all of their episodes. And then, Forrest Frank. It's like, I'm just going to make incredible music. Yeah. And is now out streaming Drake. And then it's like, and now with gaming, it's like, hey, we're going to build the largest Christian gaming community. Yeah. We're going to reach people for Christ. It's like, we're not called to be of the world, but we are called to run towards darkness. Yeah. And I think sometimes we forget that like, it is the central purpose of a believer is missional. It is missional. Actually, I literally just saw a video today. John Mark Comer, who I love him so much. Yes. Love his materials. He talks a lot about being Christ-like, right, and the practicing the way and the spiritual formation and all this different stuff. And he even mentioned, he was like, man, we have a lot of people, they've kind of turned into kind of monks and kind of like accidentally we created this culture that's very like, it's just me focused. And he's like, no. Part of the Christ-like pathway, part of the formation of being more like Jesus is for others. It's not actually for yourself. It's for others. So it's like this gospel that we have is not meant to be kept for ourselves. And we're not called to be scared of dark places. The business entrepreneur world, like, you know how much new age, ridiculous garbage is out there in the business coaching community? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It's wild. I go to gaming conventions and I'm like, oh my Lord, I need to wash off in the spirit. Like truly, like I know that sounds funny. It's just like, man, I just feel gross. Like I need to there's just stuff that happens. Like, I mean, I was at TwitchCon and they were doing tarot card readings.
Oh my Lord.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, it's so funny that people are obsessed with the supernatural that's not of God, but can't surrender to a perfect, loving God who died for them and died for them on the cross and forgave them of everything that's happened, redeemed them. Like it blows my mind, and it needs it, and I think, and I'm gonna say this is my last statement here because I know I know that we're trying to wrap it up here, but you talked about evangelism and talking about how it's the main point of a believer. That's what we need to do. We need to go. Number one, grow in our relationship with God, but also go evangelize. Okay?
Yes.
This is going to be a weird. just bear with me. It's going to be,
I'm here
I'm
for
going to
it.
give a little bit of a strong statement, and people can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the church has monopolized the evangelism platform.
That's good.
Here's where I'm at. Okay.
Yeah.
The evangelical movement. We have turned church into an outreach platform rather than equipping the saints. Therefore, we're creating weak believers who will not go fulfill the Great Commission, but we will tell them to come to bring their unsaved friends to church, and the pastor will preach a message to save them. No, you can get them saved before church and get them into the building. We have done less equipping. We have done less equipping and more, which is not, I'm not saying don't bring your unsaved friends to church. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying don't bring your unsaved friends to church. I'm not saying that there's not opportunities for the church to be evangelical. But the church, the evangelical church, in my opinion, has capitalized and monopolized where evangelism takes place, and that's on church on a Sunday. Why? Because we don't want to have empty seats. We don't want to have empty pews, and we want to make sure that things keep running, which is not bad. But again, we have done less equipping of the saints, and we need to do better about equipping the saints to be able to do ministry, not just inside of the Holy of Holies, but in the marketplace.
Man, when I tell you I'm about to throw my shoe at you at this screen, if you don't preach, like I said, I wish we had another hour, but I'll say this in response. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. I remember I listened to a podcast with Banning Leapshire, who's one of my favorite leaders and to listen to, and he said when he was starting Jesus Culture Church, he had people come up to him and was like, so, hey, a friend of mine got saved. Where's the new believers class? And they had just started. He's like, well, we don't have that yet, but in your living room. He's like, what do you mean? And I think we have, like you said, a more modern kind of, I don't even just call it mega church, but just modern church kind of culture. Yeah. We've put it on the pastor. You're not just the pastor, you're the evangelist. You're the one that feeds the poor. You do it. Yep. You do it for me. We have absolved our personal responsibility as believers. The call for the Great Commission is not just for the pastor. Matter of fact, that's not even his sole role.
No,
scripturally. It is not. It is shepherding. It is equipping the saints for the work of the ministry. It is for us to go out, make disciples, to reach people for the gospel. And when we gather, we're celebrating. We're bringing people in on the journey. That's really how it should happen. And I love what you said that because I agree. And I think if we were to see that, hey, we are all in the same team. I never forget the first time I heard John Maxwell speak in person, and he had like this like breakfast thing here in Dallas, and I went years ago, and he was like, man, he said, I was a pastor for like 20 years. I'm reaching more people now as a businessman than I was as a pastor.
Right.
Like more people are coming to Christ, more executives coming to Christ. Like he'll do like a conference and he'll have 800 people get saved in a weekend on an optional Sunday. It's not even mandatory, just optional if you want to come.
Right.
And it's like, he said the harvest is fruitful. It like people are hungry for it. And if we are so closed off that it's got to happen in this context, they got to come into our building, we're going to miss out on what the Lord wants to do.
Yeah. And dude, we can keep going forever, but it's the fact that a lot of people are stuck into I got saved in the salvation process and have never transformed their life.
Oof. Yeah.
The transformation happens, right? So we've been creating people who know what it's like to be saved and believe in Jesus, but we have a lot of people who haven't been transformed in their walk. And it goes to show that there needs to be more discipleship. There needs more be empowering and equipping the saints. And that you actually help your church by, and again, look, I know, my credentials in ministry have been youth pastoring, right? They've been also with, doing media stuff and now building this insane ministry that we're doing with gaming. I don't know what it's like to be senior pastor. I don't know what it's like on that level. And so I say from an outside point of view, we need to be better about discipling our congregation and empowering our congregation to go out and bring people in the sense of, I just witnessed to my coworker, they got saved, they're coming to church with me this week. I'd rather hear that than being like, hey, I'm bringing my coworker, hopefully they get saved.
Yeah, exactly. And you just hope that the message is just right. But the message may have to be on
we're talking this week. We're talking right, exactly, or we're talking about something else. I don't know. We're talking about what how to live as a believer. Yeah, gifts. They don't know what the gifts of the Spirit are because their spirit hasn't been reborn. They don't understand spiritual things because they themselves have not been reborn in the Spirit, or their new life. The old life is still there, and new life hasn't begun. They're not gonna understand it, right? And that's why. Again, it's for the believer. It's always, the church is for believer, but at the same time, I'm not saying like don't invite people to church, but let's focus on that, because then you can see more of an impact supporting people who are in these different spaces, the entrepreneurial space, the marketplace ministry. Marketplace ministry has been very neglected, and it needs to be at the forefront again, in my opinion, because that's how we're going to reach some more people for Jesus.
I think that's brilliant. And I think that's a perfect way to end, man, because you are doing that so well. You're modeling it well. Thank you. Thank you for not just being on the show. Thank you for being a leader out in the world and actually representing Christ so well, man. And I just want to say, hey, I'm cheering you on. If there's anything we can do at Faith Hustle, we're here for it. But I'm just so thankful for what you're doing. Excited to continue to build our friendship. And I'm truly inspired by you and your leadership, and we'll put your Discord below so people can join it. Yeah, because like you said, 3.1 billion people are gamers.
Yeah,
we got a lot of entrepreneur gamers. Yeah. Go ahead and join the community.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
And yeah, man, appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, no problem, dude. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Faith Hustle Podcast. We hope you felt challenged, encouraged, and equipped to walk out your faith hustle. And if you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or any audio platform. As well, leave us a review. It helps us so much in our ratings so we can get the word out to more people. Each week we have these conversations with business owners who build their business God's way. And so we look forward to growing with you on your faith hustle journey. We'll see you next time.